Good Monday, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Rickey Hampton with the big fellow, Paul Mokeski, coming to you on a Monday. Hope everybody's having a great evening. If I'm a little distracted, I'm watching my Pistons, man, try to end this loser streak, Mo. These guys are diving for loose balls, hustling all over the place. If they'd have been doing this 20 games ago, they wouldn't be in this situation because they got enough talent to win a couple of games here and there. It's not like it's a hopeless team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would challenge them. Do you want to be the worst team ever in the NBA history? I mean, I think that was one. I don't know who that was, but I think they won 9 games, right?
Philly, Philly,
Yeah. So they're on that pace, right? They're
yeah,
on a pace to win 8 games, 8 or 9 games. Do you want to be associated with that team, or do you want to, their talent level's not. I mean, you know, it's funny because you trade for Wiseman or whatever, and he can't play. He's not playing on
yeah.
one of the worst teams in the league. So their talent level's not great, but you know, I mean, there's difference between a bad team and one of the worst teams ever in the history of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be it'll be some moves made in the front office there. I think the general manager will be gone. Monty Williams won't be gone, so they've given him $100 million. So
They can move
they-
him up though. They can bring in a new coach and move him up,
yeah, yeah, they could
just
do
like
that.
this. They did that in Boston, right? Brad Davis moved up.
Yeah, because Paul, I tell you, I've seen him on the sidelines this year. Like, man, I know y'all giving me 100 million, but not even 100 million is worth what I'm seeing out here. It's
Oh,
been bad.
I do it. I do it. Give that to me. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's misery. I mean, every day, you come to practice, you come to shoot around, you come to game, you look at video, you're on the plane, you're traveling every day. How many have they lost in a row? 19, 18, 20, whatever.
This will be 20 tonight. I don't think they're going to pull it out. They're down six right now with about 8 minutes to go. Hey, Paul. One thing I know, you've done it, you played it, you coached it. I, but I think the average fan doesn't understand how, at any competitive level, but especially at the professional level, how hard it is to win even one game. The work and the preparation that goes in trying to win one game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and it takes a lot of work and effort and pride, and but if you got a really good team, it's not that it's a lot easier than
Well,
if
you're
you
gonna
have
do,
a
yeah,
bad
yeah,
team.
yeah.
I mean, if you have a bad team, you have to do everything right, and the other team you're playing against, which is better than you, has to mess up some things, and you got to catch a break to just win a game. You know, but
Yeah.
you know, but it, but if you're the Celtics or the Bucks or Minnesota Timberwolves now or Denver, you got to play good, and you're gonna win the game. Play good, you win the game.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And after the game, you look, you know, if you have a good team, you got 5 or 6 really good players on there. 3 or 4 have to play good for you to win. If you're on a bad team, you got to have 5 or 6 of your average players play really good to win. So
Above average. Yeah.
it's a totally different animal. I mean, when I played, I was on good teams and bad teams, mostly good teams, thank God. Out of my 12 years, I made the playoffs at 9 of them. With the Milwaukee Bucks and Houston Rockets and Cleveland for one of the series, but I was on a bad Cleveland team. I was on a bad Detroit Piston team, and not as bad as they are now. I mean, I think when I was in Detroit, I think we won 25 games or something like that, at least maybe 30. I don't know, but yeah, if you're on you're on a bad team, frustration and everything starts to set in, and You know, it seems like you find ways to lose. You know, once you lose
Yep.
the game. Like I don't know what's going on right now, but I guarantee you the Pistons will probably find a way to lose this game tonight.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not. They're not going to win it. They're down 9 now. In fact, Ivy, this great athlete, has a wide open lane to the basket that would have cut it to 5, and he trips and falls, and the guy picks it up. They go the other way.
Yeah, I mean that
This
when you're like that, this seems, you know, it's like momentum in a game, you know, goes back and forth or whatever. But when you're on a bad streak like that, you know, things like that seem to happen all the time.
Mo, like those great Bucks teams. Y'all walk into a city, home or away. You know, we're gonna roll. You knew when you woke up that morning we're winning this game tonight.
Well, I knew, yeah, it depends. I mean, you know, if we're going into some, you know, teams, we're going to win. But we go into others, you know, like the Celtics or Philly or the Lakers, we still got a good chance to win. We just got to play good. So, you know, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we want to welcome everybody in tonight, especially some of our favorite guys, Steve and Chris. Uh, we'll be taking your questions and comments throughout the evening, and we're going to definitely get into some NBA talk. But Mo, as a former professional athlete, I had to ask you about the contract that Otani signed with the LA Dodgers. $700 million contract. And you asked an interesting question, and we'll get to that. But first, uh, your thoughts on Otani signing for $700 million, and Mo, he's deferring, uh, I believe, 680 million of it for 10 years. So they only paid him $2 million a year for the first 10 years. He's only making
Wow.
$2 million on this contract. He's deferring it so the Dodgers will be under the salary cap. Baseball has a soft salary cap and
Yeah, I know.
everything.
You know, I understand and appreciate deferred money. That seems pretty stupid to me. I mean, I guess, you know, just think of the interest that he's going to lose out on in those years when he's not making it. He's supposed to average 70 million a year, right?
Right.
So he's deferring 68 million
He's
every year.
deferring 68 million of it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, he's deferring $680 million of it.
yeah. So
Let me check that.
just think of the interest on that, right? Every
Yeah.
year, compound.
And the Dodgers get to earn that interest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you lose out on that. So I don't know why he's doing that. I guess, I mean, what was his last contract? I don't know. I mean,
It
obviously
was
he
a
has
lot.
money.
It
Yeah,
was a
so
lot with the Angels.
yeah, so he's probably got 100 million in the bank, right?
Yeah.
200 million maybe, advertisement 300 million. You know, so you know you can live pretty damn comfortably. Now you're spending the principal on that. So you know how many cars and houses do you need? But still, deferring that much, I don't know. You know, I understand
Yeah.
trying to win and everything, but that seems just stupid to me. But
This is
either way, he is a player like LeBron, like Michael Jordan, like guys like that not only bring money into your team, they also bring money into the whole league in general when they play, right? So those guys, you know, supersede, you know, normal all-star players, more normal great players because they bring income into the league as well as a massive income to their teams. So, that's part of the reason you spend that money because you look at the overall picture, you know. But my money keeps going up, right? Remember, probably about 5 years ago, you know, KD and Curry and those guys signed a deal to make 30 million a year. Oh my God, 30 million a year? That's gonna be nothing, you know, pretty soon. Watch. And you know, it's funny when I forgot the HBO series, the Lakers series they had on. You know, it's kind of a play on the Lake. You know, they had people imitate, Magic and those guys. And, Magic signed the first $1 million contract in the NBA. He signed a 10-year, $10 million contract with the Lakers. That was unheard of. Superstars back then were making $500,000 a year. That's what they were making.
Yeah.
And Magic signed $1 million a year deal for 10 years. And part of that show, they had someone was interviewing the character that played Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and trying to get a response from him how upset he was that he was underpaid. And his comment was, you know what, $1 million a year, Lakers got a deal because 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, $1 million a year won't be anything. And that's what's happening.
That's what happened. And quickly on Ohtani, this is from CBS Sports. In an effort to enable the Dodgers to continue spending around stars like Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Ohtani agreed to defer all but $2 million of his salary, 68 of his $70 million a year, until after the completion of the contract. The deferred money is to be paid out without interest from 2034 to 2043. So he's got a nice little 401k coming from the Dodgers, but apparently he's doing that to keep them to help them stay competitive and under.
First of all, that's about probably half the 401k he would have coming if he got the money as he should get the money. I mean, you're going to get 8 to 10% off that money for the next 10 years. That starts at 60 million a year, and then goes to 120 million a year, and then goes to 360, and then just think of that interest on that money.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I know in the NBA, I don't know about NFL, you can't do that anymore. You can't defer and keep people under the salary cap as much as you used to be able to. So, but that's interesting to me. I mean, that's, you think, well, he's going to get 700 million. Yeah, but he's sacrificing, I don't know, 200 million maybe in interest, maybe more. I don't know. It's almost $1 billion. I mean, but I mean, I think in the next 1 or 2 years, there's going to be players in the NBA making 60 million a year, right? So, and there's no more long-term contracts in the NBA. I think 5 years is the longest you can stretch it out. So, I predict in the next 10 years, there's going to be $100 million a year players in the NBA. I mean, look at Luka's contract comes up in a year or two, a couple of years. Those guys, these young guys. Like I was going to talk about the new all-stars in the NBA that are coming up. You're talking about obviously Halliburton that we saw in the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
You're talking about Maxey for Philly. You're talking about Anthony Edwards for Minnesota. De'Aaron Fox from Sacramento. The point guard Alexander, who's only I think 20 years old. So
say the last one over more because we lost you for about 5 seconds. The last player,
the point guard from OKC, Julius Alexander, point guard. So and he's only 20 years old, 21. So those guys are going to be making $90-100 million a year when their max contracts come up. So, the money in sports. If you got little kids out there that can play.
Well, where does this end?
I think it ends when TV contracts, TV money, endorsement deals, ownership deals hit some kind of impasse. The thing about the NBA is the owners and the players share 50-50 profits. So, they're going to keep going up and up as long as they can. I mean, look at the franchise values, right? Mark Cuban bought the Mavericks 23 years ago for $700 million and just sold a part of it, like 60%, for $3.4 billion. So, that's where, if the values of the franchises keep going up and up. You know, you can't be a billionaire and own an NBA team anymore. You like people think LeBron James is going to own the next team here in Las Vegas. He doesn't have enough money. He's a billionaire. He doesn't have enough money. You know, Mark Cuban, I think his value or his wealth is like 6 billion, 5.5 billion, 6 billion. He's one of the lowest valued owners in the NBA right now. So, you know, money is just, you know, as long as it's keep going in the right direction, it's just going to keep going up and up.
Yes, and we got a lot of questions and comments from our viewers. We're going to get to, and a lot of stuff I want to get to, Mo. Man, and let's start with the IST, the in-season tournament, and it was really a lot of fun watching those games, and they were out in your neck of the woods to cap it off. Your overall thoughts of the IST and and LeBron James, what he's doing at 38, almost 39 years old.
Yeah, well, first of all, when they announced that here in the Summer League in Las Vegas in July, they announced the in-season tournament and they showed the trophy and tried to make a big deal about it. And, you know, let's face it, right? Most people were laughing at it, or they're either laughing at it or they're saying, what the heck is this? But the problem is most regular fans or most people out there don't understand the global implications of basketball around the world. Most leagues in Russia, Italy, France, Spain, most international leagues, FIBA leagues that are high level basketball, they have 2 or 3 cup championships per season. They've already been doing this for years. Pool play, in-season tournament, post. You know, they already do that. So Adam Silver, and I saw him this week in Las Vegas, back in the tunnel, and I, you know, shook his hand and said, "This is great for basketball, Adam, and you're doing a great job," because most people didn't understand what was going on. But you know, his goal was let's get some interest in the NBA in December, right? In November and December, because let's face it, everybody out there says the NBA doesn't start rolling till, you know, February, and players don't start playing hard till the playoffs, and you know, all this bad information out there. You know, so Adam Silver addressed that situation with the in-season tournament, and let's face it, he hit all his goals, right? So
Yeah.
one of his goals is to get their interest in the NBA earlier in the season. Well, check that off, done. You know,
Yeah.
have great coverage, have the players buy in, done. They bought in. A lot of that was because of LeBron James buy-in and how he treated it, and then everybody started to buy in. You know, I mean, let's face it. We talked about this the other day. You know, last year, Tuesday night, Sacramento playing Golden State in November. Nobody cares, but it had in-season tournament connotations. The winner would come, you know, would go at least go to the next round, and everybody was talking about it and watching it on ESPN.
Yeah.
So, you know, hats off to, you know, the whole setup, and I think that's set up for years to come. I mean, I was there here in Vegas, and the way those players were playing, how hard they were playing, the coaches were coaching, the fans. I mean, I went to Thursday, so I watched the Bucks in Indiana. There was about 10,000, 12,000 in the arena. But then for the Lakers New Orleans game, it was sold out, 18,000 strong. And the same for the championship game here on Saturday. So, you know, it's just, I was really impressed with it. You know, I know there's some complaints about, you know what the point differential. That's how you see, you know, if there's a tie. Well, there's no other way to do that, people. Sorry, and it's been done for years in FIBA. So if you run up a score, so be it. That's the way it goes. That's the only way you can break ties in the pool play. And I think there was some, you know, some talk about the courts were a little bit too busy and too colorful. I'll tell you what, The one here in Las Vegas, it was beautiful and looked really
Yeah,
cool.
it looked good on
But
TV too.
yeah, but some of them were a little bit over the edge. I bet Adam just that a little bit, maybe tones them down a little bit. I bet there's going to be
Yeah,
a big time sponsor come in and try to sponsor this whole tournament next year. In season tournament above and beyond what the NBA gets. So, I was, seeing guys play like they played and see. It was funny, like LeBron after the game, they had champagne in the locker room, and
yeah,
celebrated. He got a medal and a championship and MVP that he would never get before. So I thought it was really interesting, really done well, and it brought in the Lakers back in the fold. People are thinking they're considered as maybe championship possibilities this year. It brought Indiana into the spotlight along with Halliburton as one of the best players in the league. It did that. And it might have exposed a couple of people. I mean, I saw Zion play, and I mean, Ricky, he's out of shape, man.
I was going to ask you
He's not
more
in
about
shape.
this.
He looks heavy. He looks. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take to get him to click on. You know what? Personally, I don't think it will ever. I don't think it will.
Paul,
He's going to do a thing.
Paul, I watched that game, and he's lumbering up and down the court. He can barely get up and down the court. And I'm thinking, dude, do you see what LeBron James is doing at 38? Why don't you copy that?
I mean, and you know what? LeBron is that guy too. So if Zion or his people, his agent, I don't know who his agent is. I should find out because. But if they went to LeBron after the season and said, "Hey, can you work with Zion for a week or two and just show him your routines and show him what you do and show him all that," he would do that. It's just.
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky, I saw him. Shoot, he walked right by me. And to warm up, he looked sloppy in his warm up.
Yeah.
Like just walking by, and I'm like, it's because I was sitting for the Bucks, Indiana. I remember the Bucks, Indiana game. I was 3 rows up behind the bench, behind the backboard, right by the Bucks bench, and looking at even Brooke Lopez and Portis and Giannis and Damon and all the Indiana players, they looked like, and I talked to people here in Vegas that have seen college and summer league, and they're like, man, they're athletic and big and in shape and very impressive, and then you look at Zion, who could be one of the best athletes, and you're like, why is he doing this to himself? I don't know, man.
Well, this story, this is from Brad Bunkin, talked about the Pelicans. Williamson's poor work ethic has been a source of frustration for the Pelicans since they drafted him with the #1 pick in 2019. The Pels have tried to surround Williamson with veterans who have track records of maximizing their potential. The team signed J.J. Redick in 2019 and traded for C.J. McCollum in 2022. None of it has had an impact. The Pelicans have repeatedly stressed to Williamson that his diet and conditioning need to improve. Multiple sources on the team told the Times-Picayune that Williamson doesn't listen. So Mo, why they give him $231 million again?
I don't know. Good question. That's the question that when people they're questioning, the front office is questioning his work ethic. Oh, hello, didn't you look into that? Was the word. The word about that was out already before you even drafted him.
Yeah.
And then you re-sign him, and you went through it, and you
He
give
gave
him
him
all that money.
$231 million.
But and it's and you know what? I don't see him turn around, and I don't see you're not going to get any return on that where you're at or in a trade. Who's going to trade for him? You don't give you anything of value back. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Nobody.
you know what? I've told people this here, and I've told people before, and I'm sorry. You know, I love the NBA. I've been around the NBA my life. I played the NBA for 12 years. I coached for 8 years in the NBA. I coached for another 8 in the G League, which is affiliated with the NBA. I love the NBA. I love the game. But I'm telling you, man, 40% of the teams in the NBA, they're billion-dollar businesses that make multiple mistakes and stupid decisions and don't fix anything and spend money stupidly, and you know they're not well run. Sorry, that's the way
Yeah.
it is. And
Yeah.
you know that's a good example, right? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
if you're smart and you dealt with Zion for a couple of years and you knew what he was, but you knew, you know what, other teams don't know that personally. They don't know that firsthand. And he had value a couple of years ago. You trade him.
Yeah.
You get a lottery pick first round, and you get a couple good players, and you trade him, and you move on. But they're so afraid of making mistakes, and so afraid of someone, you know, doing, you know, you trade the guy, and then he becomes a, you know, a superstar. They're so afraid of that they don't make rightful decisions. I mean, I'm going to tell you, when I was with the Dallas Mavericks, when I first got there, we had a great offensive team. We needed to upgrade our defense, but we had Steve Nash, great point guard, Dirk Nowitzki, one of the best power forwards ever, and Mike Finley, a great wing scorer, and we had a lot of good role players.
Yeah.
And Steve Nash, after about I think the third year, I think he became a free agent. And for the year or so, he had been struggling with back issues. After every game, they would have to stretch him out. I'd hear him crying in the back, and trying to get his back right, and you know, just deteriorating. And you know, they came to a decision that you know we're not gonna we can't pay Steve what other teams can pay him because he's gonna just his health is gonna disintegrate, and he's not gonna be you know the player that he is now anymore.
Yeah.
So they kind of made an off-conscious move. Phoenix came in and swooped him away, and Dallas kind of didn't make the right moves and treat him the right way, and they didn't sign him. And guess what? The next 2 years, he was MVP of the league for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But they were willing to make that decision, and then 3 years later, they won a championship.
Yeah.
Right? They
Yeah.
spent that money on some other players and won a championship. So, you know, you look bad, you look good, but you can't be scared. I mean, but Zion, I was, you know, what's interesting because I didn't talk to him, but I saw Shaq was sitting on the court on the other side, and he had come there to see Zion play in person. He wanted to see Zion play in person, and he was really let down. I mean, I think he expressed that at TNT later on.
Yeah. Yeah. He was listless. Just very disappointing. Let's go to get some of these comments here. Chris Paul, I'm glad you got to see the Bucks play in Vegas, and your old student is coaching the Bucks now, Griffin. Uh, it's been a rough start with Milwaukee. Are you concerned about the Bucks at all, Mo?
Um, I am a little bit after seeing them in person, and I'll tell you why. Adrian Griffin is a really good coach, but he's a rookie head coach. He's put in a situation with a very, very good team that's expected to go to the NBA Finals at minimum, or compete in you know in the East at minimum. But he might, and you know, people think I'm crazy for saying this. He might have too much talent on his team. He might have too many offensive weapons on his team. Because what I saw is, first of all, in the first half, I was sitting 20 feet from the bench and 20 feet from the court. And Joe Prunty, who's on that staff, I know those guys, you know, and I saw him in the back a little bit. But just watching and observing, first of all, in the first half, Indiana was engaged and ready to go. Milwaukee was just kind of not going through the motions, but not giving it their all. Then they gave it their all in the third quarter and took over the game, but then kind of got in a funk in the fourth quarter, and Indiana, with their youth and their talent and their energy, won the game that I think Milwaukee should have won. And part of that is, you got two offensive juggernauts with Giannis and Damian Lillard, right? They're both can average 35, both, and then you got, some other players that are around them, that
Middleton.
are very, they're all, Middleton is this capable scorer. Portis is averaging like 16, he can score 20. They got some other guys there that can score, but it doesn't seem like they're in sync with what's going on. And I know it takes time. It's only 20-something games in the season. I know that. But at the same time, like, here's a great example of that game. I'm watching the game, and I look up with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, Damian Lillard has 0 points. 0 points.
Yeah.
And he was playing regular minutes. With 5 minutes left, he ended up with 5 points in the quarter. He hit a three and hit a couple free throws. 5 points. And I look up, and Giannis has 20 points. So he's on a schedule for 40, right? And then in the third quarter, Dame comes alive, and he scores 15 points in the third quarter. 15. And Giannis scores 4. So they're kind of, it's a little off kilter. And then in the fourth quarter, instead of doing what I was begging them to do, what they need to do, Dame Lillard and Giannis pick and roll, run that to death, make them guard you, just like Denver does with the Joker and Murray, right? They never ran a pick and roll with those two. And they were running actions and plays, and other players were getting the shots instead of those two. That's a mistake. So am I concerned? Yes. Am I in a panic? No. But at the same time, there's a lot of egos out there. There's a lot of talent. Yeah. Sometimes Indiana has less talent, but they're playing more like a team right now, and winning games. Same with Minnesota. But, I think they'll figure it out. I'm not going to, Adrian Griffin's a friend of mine. I coach him in the CBA. I coach him in Dallas with the Mavericks. Great guy, one of the best people you'll ever meet. But he's in a high-pressure situation where he's expected to win. And sometimes you're at a coach and you got all these weapons and, you're going along cool and smooth, and you look up and you go, shit, Damon only has, 2 points. We got to get him the ball some. And you kind of, or so-and-so's still on the bench. I haven't put him in the game yet. He's a freaking all-star. Stuff like that happens too.
Well, Mo, to your point, exactly to your point, Bobby Portis, veteran, world champion, a big part of that team, was upset after they lost to the Pacers, and according to reports, was critical of Griffin, saying he did not have the team organized going down the stretch of that game. And Griffin refused to comment on it. And I like what Portis said. He said, what goes on in our locker room stays in our locker room. It's a sacred place between us. And we're all competitors, and we're all here for the right reasons. Can that be constructive, Mo? And Portis was surprised that even got out of the locker room, because he was saying that the Bucks, we don't operate like that.
Yeah, so he was quoted saying that?
Yeah, this is his quote. I won't comment on what was reported. Like I said, we're a passionate group. We hate to lose. We're together, a together group. I love coaching this group. That was Griffin. But here's Portis. I don't want to speak too much about what's happening in our locker room. What happens in our locker room is sacred between us. That's how it's always been. Don't know how that got reported, but at the same time, I'm a competitor. I love to compete, and I'm here for all the right reasons.
So, but the original quote from Portis, how did that get out? Was he quoted?
Yeah,
as
yeah.
saying,
So it was a source, and that's what he was saying. He doesn't know how that got out.
but if he
So
was quoted in an article, that person, that's how it got out, right?
no, it wasn't him. They did not. It was an anonymous source, not a unanimous source.
So he wasn't quoted as saying that.
No,
Okay,
no.
so some reporter or someone said that Portis was angry about this and that, but he didn't quote, because if that happened, then it makes no sense of Portis saying, "Well, what's in the locker room?" Yeah, but not if you said something. But you know how locker rooms are. But I could see that happening. I saw that on the fourth quarter was frustrating for me as a former Buck. I'm like, what are you doing? Run some pick and roll with those two guys. Give the ball to Giannis. They can't stop him. And, you know, at some point, Adrian Griffin is 25 games into his career as a head coach. So he's a rookie head coach, so, he's feeling his way. But,
But when you got a young guy like Griffin, a first year coach, that's why he needs a strong staff too, right?
but I mean, let's say this: would they be questioning Popovich or Kerr or any of they wouldn't,
No.
they would just. But yeah, but let's talk about his staff, right? He had his first assistant leave a month ago, Terry Stotts, former head coach of Portland, who they were friends, and they had some blow up at some practice or some game or so. I've talked to some people around there that and it's very, because I know both those guys, and they're both very unassuming. They're really laid back guys, and that really shocked me that they got in this confrontation, a big enough one that Terry Stotts actually walked away from the team. And let's face it, that might be hurting them right now, because guess who Terry Stotts coached for years? Damon Lillard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Bucks have as much talent as anybody in the league, but they got to get it together. They got to have some strategy, and somebody's going to have to sacrifice Portis, Middleton, some of those other guys to let Dame and Giannis do pretty much whatever the hell they want, which is the way it probably should be.
Steve just had this. Chris just had this about talking about Otani. Just going back on that for a minute. Yeah, he was doing some Babe Ruth stuff, but he just had his third. Was he, Chris has said Steve said it's his third Tommy John surgery. Man, that's a lot of money to give to a guy. Now he can hit. He's not going to pitch this year. So they are really making an investment in this guy. But I was listening to somebody saying today, the Dodgers have so much money, they could just take a chance like this. Because
Nobody has that much money.
Well,
Sorry.
that's
You don't have enough money to blow $700 million. So, but again, baseball, pitching, I guess he comes back next year and tries to pitch. Hitting, he's there already. And guess what? Marketing, he's at the top. So that's where the money is, right?
that's the
Marketing and sponsors, and sponsors from overseas and money from overseas. So it all comes into play of how much they're paying him.
But going back off of Otani back to the NBA, we were talking about how all these young guns we have in the league now. Who gets that? Who gets to close to that $100 million contract out of those guys?
I just gave you 5 names.
Who's going to get it?
I just gave you those 5 names, right? So you got Anthony Edwards, you got Maxey, you got Shea Giannis Alexander from OKC, one of the best guards in the world, by the way, and he's only 21, 22. He's got a likelihood. DeAndre Fox, maybe. And then you're looking at maybe even a Luka coming up a couple years on the free agency. But, any one of those guys will be $100 million a year guys.
Out of the names you gave me, I would say Luca.
Well, the problem is
because of his international appeal.
Yeah, but the problem is he's older. So, you got to have the right timing too, right? You got to be at the right place at the right time, So, I see those younger guys. I don't think there's not going to be $100 million a year guy in the NBA for the next, probably till 5 years, 6 years from now. So whoever's up for their max contract at that point, which will be the other guys I mentioned, will probably be,
if he develops.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Wembyamba too. He'll be, he has a good shot at that too.
Mo, I tell you, man, that league is really something. Let's keep moving here.
Well, let's look so Anthony Davis, who proved his worth, right? If he could, he had 40 points and 40 and 20 rebounds or whatever. Everybody's wondering why he won't play that way the whole time. But look at his contract. He's making $40 million this year, $43 million next year, $47 million in the year after that, $62 million the year after that. And then he has an option for himself in 2027 for $67 million a year. That's AD, right? So that's where, just think, Wembyamba will sign something like that or more, because he's only 20 years old also. So, yeah, it's going up like that.
Wow, that is absolutely crazy. Steve says he didn't like the tournament. Steve, expound on that, man. Or maybe I was disappointed the Lakers won. I was going for Indiana. Is that why you didn't like it? Because your team didn't win?
He didn't like what? What didn't he like? What did you like, Chris? Or Steve? Who said
that? Mike was talking about earlier when we were talking about the big money, saying that's most corporations in America, and welcome, Mike.
Hold it. Time out, Mike. I live in Las Vegas. Every month for the last 2 years, the casinos in Las Vegas have profited over $1 billion every month for the last 2 years. $1 billion over the last every month. They clear $1 billion. I think around Christmas time now, it's 1.2 or 3 billion that they make in December. Made clear. So there's a lot of money out there, man. We just don't have
it. hey, Mo, when the tournament was going on, Las Vegas is always buzzing, but with the teams in, could you feel a little extra in the air around the city?
Yeah. I went to when I went to the semis. I had I had a media pass so I could get back there, and you got Shaq and you got Dr. J and guys like that. This young kid kind of walked by me, and I didn't know who it was. And I asked the guy next to me, "Who's that?" He says, "Oh, that's Justin Bieber. He just walked by you." Vivica A. Fox, like every rapper you can think, who I don't know who they were, but I knew they were wearing $100,000 watches. But yeah, so Shaq was sitting courtside. Even for Vegas, I live probably 15 minutes from the Strip. But when I go to the Strip, you've been with me. There's the private jet airport that's on the right there by the Vegas sign. You can tell what's going on by how many jets are packed in there. If there's a boxing match or whatever, it's crowded. But we're talking about nose-to-nose private jets for this thing. So, there was, and Formula One was here the week before. So, it's, but it had a buzz to it that even those had, which is big for NBA because, you know, in 2 or 3 years, there's going to be an NBA team here in Las Vegas for sure.
So Mo, I do want to go back. Justin Bieber walk by. You
Yeah,
know,
I know. I mean, he looked like a kid that, you know, casually dressed. Okay, great. I'm sure more people walk by me too, you know.
oh my goodness. Let's go to this. Paul, does the NBA teams, when drafting a player, see if the personality meets the team agenda or the goals or mentality of that team? Very good question, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, the draft process is very detailed. So, you know, you start with the scouts that go out and watch all the players in person. They go to games, they go to practices. Then, when you get down to it, NBA teams talk to their college coach, their high school coach, their college teammates, their high school teammates, their opponents' coaches, their opponents' players against them, their AAU coach, their family, their friends. They talk to everybody, and then you know, obviously the physical thing. They have all their X-rays and all their doc reports, and then they also do a mental dive where, you know, they obviously check their background and all their social media. But like when I was with Dallas, most NBA teams now have full-time sports psychologists on their staff that actually travels with the team to help players. You know, they're struggling or maybe whatever, but also to help the staff that, you know, they can notice stuff. You know, when players are having problems that they're not performing. But in the draft scenario, you know, like when I was with Dallas, our sports psychologist Don Klockstein, who was with the Boston Red Sox before the Dallas Mavericks, he's still there, by the way, would interview all the draft prospects for an hour and video it and ask them specific questions and different questions, and, you know, and then report to the head coach and the staff about what he thought about that player's personality. And, you know, it's not guaranteed, but you can get an insight. And you know, here's a question for you, and I've asked you this before. One of the questions they used to ask players is, so you're sitting on a bench and the team game's getting physical, and there's a player on the other team that's really manhandling your teammates, and your coach calls you up, puts you in the game. Before he puts you in the game, he goes, okay, Rickey, I want you to go in the game and I want you to take that player out. What do you do?
I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna go in there and playing physical. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna try to give him a cheap shot though.
But you're not a very good teammate, man. You're not going to willing to take one for the team. Come on, man. No, but that's, you know, I agree with you. That's kind of what my answer would be. But, you know, there's a double-edged sword, right? Hey,
Yeah,
coach, I'm not that type of person, and I'm not going to do that for anybody in any situation. Or there's, I'm going to go out and mess him up, coach. Or there's
yeah.
like what you said, you know, I'm going to go in there and give him some hell, but I'm not going to do anything dirty. So, you know, but that kind of question is how you find out what a player is really like,
Where a guy
right?
is. Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite movies ever, and if you guys haven't watched that, Chris, or you guys out there, if you haven't seen the movie Draft, it's about the NFL draft, has Kevin Costner in it. Have you seen that,
Yeah.
Ricky?
Really good.
Yeah, and one of
Really
their
good.
things was they had their investigator, and, you know, one of the teams, you know, sent out their playbook to their possible draftees and put $100 bill at the last page to see if they read it. And, you know, some guys lied and said they did when they really didn't, and some guys, you know, did, and, you know, so you find out something. I did that one time when I was with the Dallas Mavericks, and I was an advanced scout also along with player development. So I would go to watch the teams play before we played them. So I'd go to San Antonio or Detroit, and I watch the team, and you get their play calls and their tendencies and their substitution patterns. And, you know, you write a 25-page report and you send it into the coaching staff, you know, email it, and then you move on to the next team. Well, one time on my report, on one of the last pages, I put in there, it was Here's their substitution pattern. They put the blah, blah, blah. And if any of you guys are still reading this report right now, when I get home on Monday, please tell me you read this.
And nobody.
A couple guys did, but most didn't.
That's pretty good, Mo. Mo, you talked about this when this went down, and you said it was going to happen the day Kyrie Irving said they didn't need a coach. He said the Nets screwed over Steve Nash. I mean, Steve was paid pretty well.
He made about $15 million, didn't he, Steve? He made 15, 20 million. I don't think that screwed over, but basketball-wise, they did. They put a faulty team together that had talent with a lot of you got Kyrie Irving and Harden on the same team. Oh my God, you coach those two.
Yeah, Mike Joe, the Beavs. Come on, Mo. Come on, man. It's just the Beavs. Hey, Paul. Let's before we get out of here, man. This night has just flown by, and I think the Bucks lost tonight, according to. Yeah, but it's so early. I mean, when these teams lose right now, Paul. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I they should never lose to the Bulls, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. Those add up, though. Those kind of losses early in the season add up to who you're playing in the playoffs and if you have home court or not. That's what happens with those games. When you look back, and there's usually 5 or 6 games that you kind of, pissed away that you should have won, that would have gave you a better position in the playoffs, probably. That's where they hurt you.
Well, I think that game is still going on. I'm checking the scores now. Yeah. It's on my tracker. It says 98 all, and Damon.
So you're
Damon only has 9 points in 29 minutes.
That's what I told you. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I mean, like you're a little over 1/8 of the season through, right? You're at 23, 24 games, and you got 80, 82. And, you're not dead in the water, but you're starting to, when it comes to closer to Christmas and then definitely All-Star break, you're finding out where you're at. I mean, if you're the Celtics are 16-5 and Milwaukee is 15-7, the Phillies 14-7, Indiana's 12-8 coming up. Orlando's 15-7. I don't know if they can hold on to that. You got Minnesota in the West at 17-4, and OKC is 14-7, and Dallas is 13-8, and Denver's 14-9, and Lakers 14-9. Sacramento, Philly, Phoenix are 12-10. So those are all bunched up, but the East is starting to get separated. So you're starting to, you want to win. Remember I told you, I always thought if we'd have a great season if we had twice as many wins as losses. So you're looking at, 50 to 55 win season if you do that. So you start keeping track of that and starting keeping track of 10-game little exertions, So like Minnesota's 9-1 in their last 10 games.
Yeah.
Clippers are like 3-7. So you start adding those together, you got a problem. And so if I'm like Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, even Indiana, I'm not that concerned. New York's right around there. If I'm Minnesota, I'm pretty happy. OKC, I hope we stay there. Dallas, Denver, Lakers, Sacramento, Phoenix, who gets Bradley Beal back this week. I'm okay. But if I'm the Clippers at 11-10 right now, I'm concerned. We're at 11-10. We're barely above 500. And if I'm Golden State at 10-12, I'm really concerned. Even though it's early and we're not panicking, but I'm concerned for sure.
And Merry Christmas to you, Mike, and to everybody out there. Mo, we were gonna get into some NFL. Your Chiefs and my Lions are struggling a little bit right now.
I Well, the Chiefs lose because some knucklehead has his foot on the line. How stupid is that player? I mean, you know, and you know what, Ricky, I've dealt with players before, and you know, he was, I forgot where he was. He was like a first round pick, and they traded him to Kansas City for a third rounder because you know he's dropped a lot of passes too, and then he does a bonehead play. And you know what? I saw it on ESPN. It's really clever because I look at the little stuff. So if you watch that play, you know the pass back play that Kelsey did to score that touchdown. If you watch that before he laterals it, look at whatever that receiver's name is. I don't even know his name.
Tony.
What is it?
Tony.
Yeah. If you look at it, he's upset, visibly upset, going like this. He wanted Mahomes to throw to him. He's mad that he didn't get past to him. Look at it. He's mad that Mahomes didn't pass to him.
Yeah.
That tells you something about a player's attitude.
Yeah, and you see that. I see that in basketball, Mo. I mean, well, guys, hey, the guy scored, yeah, but that should have been me scoring. So,
if you talk to, especially college coaches, Calipari and Bill Self, ask them about body language, how important it is. It's hugely important on how they evaluate players' is body language. It is.
And I'm sure you saw a lot of that in the G League, where everybody thinks they got to score, and nobody in the league is concerned. I mean, of course, they want you to be able to score the ball, but that's never what gets you called up, hardly.
No, I mean, you know, G League player, a lot of them are really mixed up, and they think, well, I'm gonna go to G League, I'm gonna average 30 points, and then I'm gonna get called up. No, you're not, because you know, if I'm the Lakers and I want to call somebody up, I'm not calling somebody up to score 30 points. Believe me, I got LeBron and AD to do that, and Reeves, you're not doing that. I want guys that can defend, or guys that can push the ball, or you know, guys that know their role and accept it. They're going to play their role and be physical and be. That's what I want. I don't need nobody scoring 30. I already got those.
I'm trying to think. He's a former Pistons draft pick, maybe 7, 8 years ago, and yet another draft pick that didn't turn out. But he was a good defender, physical guy. Played 3 or 4 years in Detroit. But he has bounced around the league. He's probably on somebody's roster right now because he will guard you and he will rebound. I'll think of his name. I'll have his name by next week.
And he probably has a 10, 15-year career.
He gets picked up all the time. But for those very
good attitude, plays hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
I tell the story, like one of the biggest success stories I had when I was with RGV with the Rockets organization. It's a player there named Garrett Temple from LSU, 6'6" guard. I think I don't know if he's still in the league, but he got 10 to 12 years in the NBA. Played for Sacramento, then he played in Washington. I think he's probably made 50 million, 60 million maybe in his career. And in the G League, he averaged 14 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds. 6'6" guard that defended, great guy, did a lot of things good, and you know, had a great career in the NBA. Not because he didn't score 30. In the G League, I told players, I said, listen, if I was you, I would not want to start because if NBA teams are looking at me, they're looking at me to come off the bench. I want to show them I can do that. And just because you don't start doesn't mean you're not going to play 35 minutes if you're good. Yeah. You know, and then I'm going to show them what I do, you
know. Mo, his name is Stanley Johnson, drafted in 2015. He's currently he's not on a team. He played last year in San Antonio, and he played a year with the Lakers, played 2 years with the Pelicans, played a year with the Raptors, and he'll be on another roster, I guarantee, before the year's out.
He's playing overseas right now, making good money.
Yeah.
He could be playing in Spain or somewhere in the Euro Cup, making good money. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, a lot of different ways to do it, man. If you're willing to make those sacrifices and
For
play the
sure.
right way.
Yep, there is.
And Mo, we gotta get out of here, man. Want to thank everybody for checking in. And yeah, we were talking about Mike Jr. Kadarius Toney. You know, Tony missed the pass. Thankfully, week 1 that would have beat the Lions. So
Yeah, he dropped so many passes. I mean, how long? Hey, here's a question: how long do the Chiefs stay with him? You know,
yeah,
I mean,
well,
you know,
NFL, not for long.
I still don't know why they let the receiver go that's now with Miami.
Tyreek Hill, yeah.
Yeah, the fastest player in the I don't know why they let him go, man.
And he and Mahomes had a tremendous connection. So
Not a good decision.
well, we're out of here. We'll be back next Monday. I hope everybody's having a wonderful holiday season. For the big fellow Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. See you next time.
Peace out.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, Big Mo.